Latinos en América. Estamos transmitiendo desde Hermosa 1470M, 96.9 FM. Les habla Lilia Galindo, me acompaña Michael Dutton y tenemos al doctor David Bronstein. Él es un pediatra experto en enfermedades infecciosas, el único en el Valle del Antílope, el único especialista en el Valle del Antílope. Y estamos hablando de la estación de la gripe que está ahora con nosotros. When is the time to get the vaccine already, doctor? Do we have to go now, or do we wait a little bit?
Now's a great time. When you get the vaccine, it will last for several months. And what we did see in other parts of the world this year, as well as last year, the flu came early. If you remember last year, instead of your normal flu peak in December, January, February, flu came in October. Yeah. I think it peaked in November even. It was a very early season. So the best time to get the flu vaccine is a few weeks before the flu is here. It's hard to guess, but now's a great time to get it. And again, don't worry, that vaccine is going to last for several months. So even if flu does come later, you'll still have that protection many months from now.
Yeah, last year was kind of a trick-or-treat flu. Well, speaking of which...
Let me translate.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Bueno, estamos hablando, ¿cuándo es el momento oportuno de ponerse la vacuna contra la gripe? Dice, ahora es el perfecto momento para ponerse, dice, porque tenemos que recordar que el año pasado la gripe vino más temprano que en general. En general se da en diciembre, enero y febrero. El pico viene generalmente en enero, pero esta vez tuvimos en octubre empezaron las epidemias de gripe y se hizo un pico en noviembre. Dice, ahora, así es que no sabemos exactamente cuándo va a empezar, pero si empieza temprano, usted ya está protegido y la duración de la protección de la vacuna es por largo tiempo. Now you can go.
Yeah, I was about to say that last year, things did happen kind of early, and I was wondering, where are the best places for people to get their flu shot?
So for Kaiser Permanente members, we've got it at Kaiser. You just basically walk in anytime and we'll get it for you. That goes for kids. That goes for our elderly folks anyone 65 and up, we want to make sure that they get the high dose vaccine. And that is something that we have available now as well. For anybody who's not a Kaiser Permanente member, we would recommend checking with your doctor's office first, see if they have it available. Most of them do. If not, any of the local pharmacies are going to have it. So you can really, and oftentimes they will take your health insurance, your health plan, and at no cost to you. So really anywhere that's close and convenient is a fine place to get it. But usually check with your doctor's office first because it's easier to get it through them.
And I think also you can get them at Costco, believe it or not.
Ah, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Bueno. Michael estaba preguntando dónde la gente puede irse a vacunar y el doctor nos dice, si ustedes son miembros de Kaiser Permanente pueden ir a cualquiera de las clínicas del Valle del Antílope, ahí se les va a aplicar, darle la protección ahora mismo a todos aquellos que sean adultos ya desde los 6 meses hasta los 65 años y más, pero si usted no tiene Kaiser Permanente, no es miembro de Kaiser, puede ir con su médico a ver si ellos tienen vacunas y si no, pueden recurrir a cualquiera de las farmacias que generalmente toman su seguro para cubrir el costo de la vacuna. Así es que pregunten cualquiera de las farmacias y presenten su constancia de seguro para que no le cobren y es totalmente gratuita. Así es que una excelente oportunidad para protegernos. Ok, Michael.
Yeah, Doctor, any last words that you'd like to share with our listeners about keeping themselves safe during this flu season, and any particular, advice or direction you'd like to give folks?
Yeah, no, wonderful question, and thank you for that opportunity. Vaccines are key, and you're going to hear about more vaccines coming up soon too. So we're talking specifically about the flu vaccine. Of course, you've heard about a COVID booster that will be coming. There's going to be decisions and recommendations on that next week. There's also a vaccine against that disease called RSV. If you remember last year, there was that triple-demic with flu, RSV, and COVID. we will likely see that again. And now we have vaccines against each of those. So talk to your doctor about when to get each of these. My recommendation right now is get the vaccine that's currently available for what we know is going to come this year, which is the flu. So great time to get the flu vaccine. My one other recommendation, I know it's not something popular to say, but hopefully you didn't throw out all your masks, because when you're in high risk settings, I'm talking about places where you're going to be indoors, lots of crowds, lots of people for long periods of time during the respiratory season, not a bad idea to put on that mask again, protect yourself in those high risk settings. So something to think about. Again, I know some of you are already and still doing that. Others never want to do it again, but I feel like I need to recommend that at times where we know there's going to be a lot of diseases circulating.
Michael estaba preguntando, ¿nos quiere compartir cualquier otra palabra acerca de cómo podemos protegernos y que nuestra comunidad y que nuestras familias estén seguras durante todos estos tiempos de la gripe y incluso del COVID? Dice, bueno, pues yo lo que les recomiendo es tomen sus vacunas oportunamente. Dice, en estos momentos está la vacuna contra la gripe, pero se va a requerir también la vacuna contra el COVID. Es un refuerzo del COVID. Y también han oído de otra enfermedad que se llama RSV, que estuvo el año pasado también dando muchos problemas. Así es que hay que ponernos las tres. Se recomienda la de la gripe, la del COVID, la RSV. Dice, y se lo recomiendo que se las ponga. Cuando se las pone, póngansela cuando esté disponible. En este momento está disponible la de la gripe, póngasela cuando se haga el COVID de booster, que parece que se va a aprobar la semana que entra. También póngasela y luego la RSV cuando esté disponible. Así es que dice, lo que les quiero también recomendar es que aunque a muchos no les guste, que van a tener que ojalá que no hayan tirado sus máscaras con las que nos cubríamos la nariz y la boca, porque esta estación que viene es necesario que nos protejamos cuando estamos expuestos a situaciones en las donde hay mucha gente, donde vamos, por ejemplo, al mercado y hay mucha gente que nos puede contagiar de todas estas enfermedades. Así es que si yo sé que a muchos no les gusta, pero yo creo que es una muy sana recomendación para que no tengamos que enfermar de tantas cosas.
Okay, Doctor, it's been very enlightening. I'm kind of curious about one thing, and that is for seniors, of which I happen to be a member of that group. Is it can we or should we take all three of these various flu shots, or try to stage them in a way that they're best for me, or like you had said before, just go for the one that's most available first?
So we're still waiting for the official recommendation on the COVID booster. So I can't fully say what is technically recommended or not.
Okay.
What the current thought is, though, is it is absolutely fine to get the flu vaccine with either of the other two at the same time. So if you're over 60 and it's indicated for you to get the RSV vaccine, you can get that and the flu shot during the same visit. No worries about that. Okay. It's also fine to get the flu and a COVID booster during the same visit. That's something that we often would do with the COVID vaccines and the flu vaccines over the years. The question is, are we going to have to space out the RSV and the COVID vaccines? And most likely, those we're going to need 2 weeks in between, just because they've never been studied together. There's no reason to think it would be a problem to get them all together. And in fact, if someone said, I'm only coming to the doctor once and I want all three, we would give it to them. That's fine. But for the most part, if you're able to come back again, I would get the flu vaccine and the RSV if it's indicated, and then come back a little bit later when it's time to get the COVID vaccine, based on whatever the most recent recommendations will be starting next week.
Michael estaba preguntando en recomendaciones específicas de cuándo ponerse las vacunas para personas que son mayores de 65 años. Dice, ¿nos ponemos todas las vacunas así como las recomendaste o hay alguna recomendación especial para las gentes mayores? Dice, bueno, pues definitivamente todavía estamos esperando por la autorización del refuerzo del COVID. Si yo lo que les recomendaría es que se pongan ya sea la vacuna de flu con la del COVID o la vacuna de COVID con la de RSV. Dice, pero no ponerlas todavía juntas la de RSV y la... No, excuse me, do you know I lost... Which one do you don't recommend to put together, the COVID and the RSV together?
Correct. RSV and COVID, 2 weeks in between.
Okay, hay que dejar un periodo de 2 semanas entre la vacuna del COVID y la de RSV. No se las ponga juntas, porque todavía esas no se han estudiado suficiente. Así es que se puede poner la del flu con el COVID o la del flu con el RSV, pero entre el COVID y el RSV espere 2 semanas entre la aplicación de las dos. Y nuevamente la recomendación de usar las máscaras para podernos proteger todos. Doctor, is COVID coming back? I have read in some papers that the number of cases are higher now.
It never went away, it just lessened.
Yeah, but...
It's been bad recently. You probably, now we all know people who have it again, just like we did before. I think what happened was when kids went back to school, they started sharing those germs again, bringing it home, bringing it into families again. And now we have a strain that's pretty transmissible. You may have heard of the Eris strain or the EG5. That's been going around quite a bit. The good thing is the new booster vaccine that's coming out should give very good protection against that. So if you haven't gotten COVID yet and you've been able to avoid people this most recent uptick that's going on right now, once the vaccine's available, it's really the timing will be perfect to prevent that illness that currently is going around.
Le estaba yo preguntando que he leído en algunos periódicos que nuevamente el COVID está yendo hacia arriba. Dice, bueno, yo creo que esto es consecuencia de que los niños regresaron a la escuela y bueno, ellos son portadores de más gérmenes y los traen a la casa. Y dice, y ahora tenemos una clase de COVID que es más contagiosa, que se llama la EG5 y otro tipo. Y dice, y para eso es importante que usar la vacuna de refuerzo para evitar este incremento, porque hemos visto que hay incremento, entonces para protegernos en cuanto salga la vacuna hay que ponérnoslas. Doctor, time is gone. Thank you so much for sharing with us all this knowledge. It's a pleasure and I hope that we never get COVID or flu.
Indeed. Thank you, Doctor.
Anything else.
Appreciate your information this morning.
It's great to be here again.